yung nga yung tinanong ko sa iyo kanina, please tell me if there's a provision of law that prevents us from conducting inquiries in aid of legislation while the findings of COA are not yet final. Meron ba? The office of the Vice President will be deprived of its right to an impartial tribunal. Your conclusion is impartial na kami eh. Di ba? May I continue, Mr. Chair?
Please continue, Congressman Acop.
Yung reason po ninyo is the principle of separation of powers is violated when one branch of government unduly encroaches on the domain of another. Period. Now, at what instance, pag-conduct namin ng hearing na ito, did we encroach on the domain of another branch of government?
Your Honor, in this case, Your Honor, as stated, the audit investigation is still ongoing. It would seem that if the documents would be provided to the end of Congress, it is as if Congress is also conducting an audit process.
We're not conducting an audit process.
Yes,
We're conducting an inquiry in aid of legislation pursuant to the Constitution.
Okay.
Now, tell me, wala pa kayong naipapakita sa akin eh, na paano kami nag-i-encroach doon sa domain ng other branches of government. Show me.
Your
You
Honor,
must remember, Attorney, that we have oversight functions over the budget of government. And part of that oversight function is the reason why we can conduct inquiry regarding the use. So that maybe we could change, for example, the joint circular of regarding the liquidation of confidential funds. Kayo, sa letter ninyo, presume na wala kami legislative intent eh. How can you do that? How can you presume that?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, but during the time this letter was made, there was no draft legislation or there was no...
We can conduct legislative inquiry and the bill can be filed after the legislative inquiry.
Yes.
Kasi malicious kasi yung nasa utak ninyo eh.
Your Honor, respectfully.
Ano po?
Yes, our position, Your Honor, is just that hindi pa po tapos kasi yung audit investigation. Yun lang naman po. That's why we requested COA not to release it
sige,
first.
please cite me a law which would say na yung ginawa po namin na dahil hindi pa tapos ang audit, hindi kami makapag-conduct ng legislative inquiry on the issue. Can you cite me a provision of law?
None at the moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
None
Kaya
at the
nga,
moment.
sabi ko, bakit ka naniwala sa isang hindi abogado? Now, may ano, the enforcement of the subject subpoena will violate the office of the Vice President's right to due process. Could you explain that also to me? Para maintindihan ko.
Yes, Your Honor. But as a starting point, may I read the letter in toto? At least that provision only. If you may allow me, Mr.
Yeah.
Chair. Okay. Item number 2, the enforcement of the subject subpoena will violate the Office of the Vice President's right to due process. First, enforcing the subpoena against the audit decision contravenes existing rules on the audit process. Disclosing the reports before the conclusion and finality of any audit is premature and will compromise the integrity of the final report. In fact, the Supreme Court has held that notices of disallowance may be released only to the parties having direct material interest, namely the auditor, the head of agency, and the officials directly affected by the said notices. This is to afford opportunity to appeal. Further, COA Circular Number 2013-006 also provides that except as to the status of cases, no information as to the action officer and/or the probable disposition or decision of any case pending adjudication before any office of this commission shall be disclosed to any person. Violation hereof shall be the subject of administrative action provided under existing civil service laws. Second, the Office of the Vice President will be deprived of its right to an impartial tribunal and a fair and objective resolution of the cases. Public statements or discussions thereon by the committee or the Congress as a whole may unduly influence the bodies which are already handling the same or similar subject matters. Finally, it must be noted that there are no less than 3 cases on the subject confidential funds that are currently pending with the Supreme Court. Hence, compelled disclosure of the audit decisions may be violative of the sub judice rule, which restricts comments and disclosures pertaining to judicial proceedings. That was our second position, Your Honor, that it violates the subject subpoena will violate the due process, the right to due process of the Office of the Vice President.
What is what would be the elements of due process?
That there is
When can you say that a person is granted due process?
when he is informed, Your Honor, of his rights and
Hindi ba kayo na-inform? Enumerate mo yun, Iha. Tatanungin ko.
the right to due process, Your Honor, pertains to the fact that that a person is made aware of his rights, and if there is any complaint or wrong that he has done, he's also made aware of such, and he's given a chance and opportunity to explain.
Yun po ang pinaka-importante. Di po ba? Pero paano nga kayo makapag-i-explain if you do not, avail of the opportunity na mag-explain dito? Di ba? Yung mga tao nga ninyo, wala rito para mag-explain. And you say na the Vice President is deprived of an impartial tribunal. May conclusion na kayo kagad na impartial kami? Is that what you're trying to tell us, Madam Attorney?
No, Your Honor.
That is what your letter says.
We are merely saying, Your Honor, that the audit investigation is not final and not
Hindi nga,
conclusive.
hindi. Ang sinabi mo rito the office of the Vice President will be deprived of its right to an impartial tribunal. Your conclusion is impartial na kami Di ba? Oh. Right?
We are also burdened by the fact, Your Honor, that there are 3 pending cases before the Supreme
Now,
Court.
what are these 3 pending cases?
This is as regards the 125 million, Your Honor, funds, confidential funds. These are still pending with the Supreme Court.
So,
For that reason, Your Honor, following the sub judice rule, we feel that it is not.
ikaw na. Ikaw na nga. Ay, nako.
Attorney, question of sub judice, malinaw na yan, may Supreme Court ruling na yan, di ba? Di ba walang sub judice with regards to inquiry in aid of legislation? Di ba? Ang daming, andyan, may mga jurisprudence na yan. Di ba, do you confer? Di ba may mga ruling na yan ng Supreme Court with regards to sub judice?
Meron po, Your Honor.
O, and that sub judice cannot be applied in inquiry in aid of legislation, malinaw yan.
And
Kaya nga ba?
additional,
Kaya nga sinasabi ko, Iha, sa'yo, bakit naniwala ka sa isang hindi abogada o abogado, ikaw ay abogado?
and additionally, Panyera, let me read Section 1 of Rules of Procedure governing inquiries in aid of legislation. Under paragraph 2, it provides that the filing or pendency of a case before any court, tribunal, or quasi-judicial or administrative body shall not stop or abate any inquiry conducted to carry out a legislative purpose. So regardless, even assuming for the sake of argument that you are correct, na meron po kayong pending case, it will not stop Congress or this committee from conducting its inquiry in aid of legislative purpose.
I hear you, Your Honor.
Okay. Please continue, Congressman Acop.
Last issue, Mr. Chair. The subject subpoena may not be validly enforced due to the nature of confidential funds. What do you mean by this, Madam Attorney?
Again, may I read? Item 3, which is the last position. The subject subpoena may not be validly enforced due to the nature of confidential fund. A recognized restriction to the right of information is national security matters and intelligence information. There is governmental privilege against public disclosure with respect to state secrets regarding military, diplomatic, and other national security matters. As a matter of fact, Memorandum Circular Number 15, 2023 provides that a specific exception to the right of access to information is privileged information relating to national security, defense, or international relations. Moreover, Joint Circular Number 2015-01, or the Guidelines on the Entitlement, Release, Use, Reporting, and Audit of Confidential Funds, specifies that reports of national government agencies pertaining to the use of confidential funds are submitted specifically only to the President, the Senate President, and the Speaker of the House. Acknowledging the highly sensitive nature of the information involved, the agencies deem it necessary to restrict access only to the enumerated officials and exclude the collegial bodies in which they belong. Finally, the COA rules explicitly provide that audit decisions may only be released to persons specifically enumerated thereunder the rules. The pertinent COA circulars likewise require the confidentiality of all information involved in cases pending adjudication. These confidentiality rules were put in place to ensure the observance of due process and to preserve and protect the information in pending audit cases. No valid and legitimate purpose has been forwarded to overcome the protections set forth under the Constitution and rules stated above. In view of the foregoing, this is where we respectfully urge the Honorable Commission to uphold the paramount confidentiality of the information being sought by the subpoena.
Are
Thank you.
you trying to tell us that Congress cannot look into how confidential funds or intelligence funds are spent?
No, Your Honor. Congress,
So, paano mo i-explain itong rason mo rito?
ang sinasabi lang naman po namin dito, Your Honor, is that in this case, hindi pa po conclusive and final yung audit investigation report.
Ay, yung nga yung tinanong ko sa iyo kanina, please tell me if there's a provision of law that prevents us from conducting inquiries in aid of legislation while the findings of COA are not yet final. Meron ba? Sinabi mo kanina, wala eh.
I cannot cite any particular
Then,
law, Your Honor.
you
But
have no basis then.
ang-
Or your writer, Mr. Ortonio, does not have any legal basis to state these things. Tama. You being a lawyer. Puro claims lang ito eh. Pero wala kayong pinapakita na legal basis. Tama. First question ko pa lang eh. Ano ang aspect ng national interest na naapektuhan nito? Galing po ako sa military eh. Wala akong makita na aspeto na it would affect our national security.
Our stand, Your Honor, is just extreme caution in discussing matters like this, given that it is still pending investigation. That is the reason why we drafted and requested the Commission on Audit, Your Honor. It was just a mere request and for the Commission on Audit to consider.
I will state again, Madam Chair, kayo po ay abogado. Ako po yung nagtataka kung bakit naniwala kayo sa argumento na inilagay dito ng hindi isang abogado. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Chairman.
Chair.
Thank you. With the indulgence of Congressman